Stop scrolling and find out how home prices in Chicago did in 2023. That's what everyone wants to know, is how much more or less is their home worth. Now, just as some logistical pieces, right? We always say, we did separate things into the kind of the three categories that we look at. We are going to concentrate on the neighborhoods where we do the majority of our business, which is in, kind of the north and northwest sides of the city, including the Loop in downtown. We have an overall snapshot of it, but then we also digest things as more of what we call the urban neighborhoods, sans downtown in the more concrete areas, and then we do the downtown market as well.
Yeah, because then you also have the high rise versus kind of like walk-ups and neighborhoody feels.
Yes, so we did, and we definitely saw a lot of differences in those this year.
Totally.
Okay, so on the home pricing side, our prediction, do you remember?
I think we said it would go slightly up or be flat.
Let's see, we basically said home prices should see a slight increase or be flat in the appreciation over 2022.
Yeah. I think we actually did pretty well on this one.
We actually knocked this one out of the park, I think. Overall, in terms of the areas that we take a look at, we saw a 0.2% increase in home values. Okay, so you and I both always say anytime we're looking at stats and numbers and those types of things, there's going to be a lot of variables in it. We always talk about a little bit of a buffer. I usually say anything up or down about 2% is fairly flat in my mind, but you're awesome. Almost as flat can be.
Yes, I think that is awesome, especially since other markets have seen like depreciation with interest rates going up so much because they saw such high like appreciation prior to us. So our little steady engine that does is keep on going.
Keep it on. And I think that's a really important note for us, right? We talk about that a lot. Is that there are ways to outperform the market in more challenging times, right? Sales can be down, but we also compare to different types of markets. And even within certain markets, it's going to be very, very different. Totally. So when a lot of the country had a lot of sour news this year, we were just doing what we do and we kept on keeping on.
Over the last 5 years, in the case price Schiller index, we've been the last place out of all the major metropolitans in terms of growth.
Right.
And this year we were on top 4 months in a row. Now, last month we did take a little bit of a tumble, but now we're number 3, which is still like insane.
Huge.
Because Chicago typically is, again, at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, we typically don't lead those lists by any means, but it's, as we always say, and even when the water got a little bit choppy last year, we said this is where us being stable is going to be our major asset.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dissect that a little bit more.
North side versus downtown.
Okay, so the north side saw a little bit more appreciation, which we tend to see, and we projected. We saw that in those north side neighborhoods, property values went up about 2.6%. Fine number, right? Yeah, absolutely fine. When the market is more challenged, we're doing things a little bit tougher to see that steady appreciation, which is great.
Yep.
We had a lot of challenging news come out in the middle of the year. We weathered a lot of storms, and to still end up ahead, which is what we thought we were going to see, is a good thing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the other thing also with like the numbers that we kind of like talked about even on our last podcast was the amount of transactions, us being down, is also affecting these numbers. So, certain price points may have gone up even more, or some certain price points may have gone down more, but because there's less data, each individual point
for certain
is
you're jumping ahead to the next. You're jumping ahead, Samuel, to the next one.
I know.
But absolutely. The point basically is in these years that we have less statistical data because we have less home sales, because we have less inventory and less of everything. Every point is more impactful. Yeah. So that can definitely skew. Or give us, what do they say, like a higher handicap? Is that the sports terminology, or at least the golf terminology?
Yes.
So now the downtown market, your hood.
So that's my hood, and my hood unfortunately did see a decrease, and it was down by 8.2%, which is not bad, but it's still a lot. So again, it's really interesting to see. Yeah,
and that's one of those things that we've talked a lot about, is that the downtown has definitely taken a lot of steps forward in the last couple of years, but the downtown did get rocked. I mean, the good news is that we've gotten this far into the podcast and we haven't mentioned COVID yet once, but the downtown is still finding its way in a post-COVID world.
Yeah, and like the other thing about downtown, I feel like, is there's so many price points, which is really affecting it, especially when you come look at like average price. Yeah. Like, we may not have seen a ton of higher end condos, which increases that average, where I mean, you look at like the $1 million below, inventory is actually
doing
it's actually catching up.
Yes.
And so, you know, where we
That's
were
where,
prior, it's insane. So
and once again, our disclosures, this is not saying that every home in the downtown area just lost this. Samuel has a great point. There are certain years where our luxury market does fantastic, and that can give a little bit of a false read, versus this year where we actually saw certain parts of our luxury market were a little bit more stagnant.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also last year, didn't we have like 2 luxury buildings that finished out their sales for like new construction, which also sent out a lot of higher end inventory, because those are the buildings that are selling right now.
Once again, those higher end data points.
That could also be another factor into it.
For certain. So overall, as a city, our grading was appropriate. When you split it out, maybe we didn't do quite as well, but we were really honest that we came into the year thinking that we were going to still be in a positive aspect. We were still going to be having strong conversations. We were going to outperform the rest of the country, because we knew that a lot of the country was in for a rocky ride, and we did it.
Yeah.
Yay, us. Awesome.